It's Thursday, which could mean only what? Well, we've never done this in like a. How long has it been since we've done this, Matt the Matthew Hardley? Like 2 weeks, 3 weeks? We've been off for about 3 weeks.
I gotta work my way down to my toes. It's been a couple of week like substance deals.
This is Linux Thursday, everybody. Every Thursday, quote unquote, we get together, me and Matt Hardley, and we take a boatload of your Linuxy questions, Linuxy and open sourcey and all sorts of related jibber jabber, and we talk about them. Whatever you guys would tell us to talk about is what we talk about, and it's fantastic. Matt, the last time I updated the studio audience. As if that was a thing.
Last week, right?
Right, last week, about what you were up to. Yeah. You were currently, I believe, on the Oregon coast hunting dinosaurs with a dog with lasers strapped to its head, I believe was what I told people. How did that go? How did things work out for you there?
Well, it turns out that the dog and the dinosaur actually teamed up against me and then chased me out of the area. So that was unfortunate.
Welcome to Oregon.
You know,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Seriously, right? Yeah.
That's what happens around here.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. It's dinosaurs and dogs playing together. It's weird.
Well, welcome back, Matt Hartley. I've missed your pretty mug, my friend.
It's been a while, right?
It's been way too long. Do you want to talk about Linuxy stuff?
Sure. You know what you should do?
What should I do?
Just put a pin in this. Just soak this in for a minute. What if we talked about Linux stuff?
Delightful. Oh my Lord, do I like it? Do I like it ever? Yeah. The first question comes from the one and only Clayton. Clayton asks, would you use a GNU Linux phone as your computer?
That's no.
What? Why not? What if it was awesome?
So here's the problem.
All right.
I like the first half of it.
Okay.
I like
you want a good
Linux
phone.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah,
now,
I'm on board with
you
on
make
that.
the interface big enough to where these strained eyes can actually see what the heck I'm doing.
No. I think the idea here isn't that you have a little tiny phone and that's your only computer. I think the idea is you like plug in like a, like they have those little like USB-C breakout hubs that do like a HDMI out and like your keyboard input. So then you put it on your desk, your phone, you plug it all in, and then you have a big monitor and keyboard and a nice big USB mouse and all that good stuff. Would you then use your phone as your computer?
No. And here's why. So here's the problem.
Tell me in detail why you're wrong and every idea you have on this is dumb.
Well, I am wearing the t-shirt, so let's get that out of the way.
Yeah. My t-shirt simply has dancing ladies on it. And I should point out, it's dancing ladies. My mom bought me this shirt. This is the most risque shirt I have, and it came from my octogenarian almost mom. So I don't even know if when she bought it off the rack, she could see what was on the shirt. She might have thought it was just some sort of squiggly 1990s cool design. I don't know. This is my... maybe I should do laundry today shirt. I put this one on. Go. Tell me why you don't want to do something awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me.
So I am the enemy of awesome and cool, so we'll get that out of the way right now. But most importantly, it's like, all right, so I've got a device, right? So I've got like a phone here, right? I'll plug cords into it.
Like you do, yeah.
Incredibly 1999. It's so awesome. It's the latest, right? I'm using cords in the 2019. So cool. I love that.
Wireless is dumb.
So it's like, all right, so I'm going to use this thing as my computer. That's great. So I have something else that I'm probably going to lose because I'm already losing my phone as it is. And then on top of that, I also have to consider the fact it's like, all right, so is this going to have enough horsepower to do the stuff I want? Where am I offloading? I mean, even browsing the web now is like, I mean, you know, maybe.
Like, have you used
I would have to try it. I would have to try it.
Have you used like one of the latest Raspberry Pis, like one of the current Revs Raspberry Pis? Have you tried using those? They're pretty peppy. Like
they're cool.
I used a Gen 1 Raspberry Pi as a desktop for a while, and it was not bad. The only time it was a problem was web browsing, like you said, because a web browser, in order to render one page of HTML, takes 14.27 giga lumps of RAM, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It is terrible.
But other than web browsing, everything works fine. Like LibreOffice ran fine on like a 512 megabyte Raspberry Pi. It ran fine. The new ones, it runs great. Like you stick, take a phone and with a decent amount of RAM, like a 2 gig or 3 gigs of RAM inside of a phone.
Sure.
I mean, come on. If our operating system and our software can't render a static web page when you have 3 gigs of RAM, then the problem is not the hardware. The problem is something else.
So here's how you wow me. Solve a problem for me. Privacy. That's awesome. Solve that for me. Protect my privacy. I'm on board with that. That's cool.
That's cool.
That's a selling point for me. Or if it's a matter of space, or find identifiable things that get me excited about that particular thing. And I think you guys are, I think they're, that'd be great. That's awesome. But just the idea of using Linux, that's frosting on my cake.
You like frosting though.
But I like my cake. I want my cake's gotta have a little sponge to it. You gotta have some foundation there. And privacy can be part of that. That's fine.
You don't want to just frost a piece of cardboard. You want something yummy. Yeah.
Yeah, but presentation on that, I mean, man, you really got to present that in a way that's like, here are the problems it's going to solve for you. And some of the most exciting things for me currently in my current state of affairs is definitely, and especially my current line of work, is privacy. Privacy is the big deal. Just saying, paint a new picture for me.
Matt Hartley, close your eyes.
Uh-oh.
Close your eyes. Okay. Yeah. I specifically said close your eyes and do something crazy with a thing of chocolate milk. Okay. Imagine this. You're presented with a phone. That phone is running Linux,
which is cool.
Hardware kill switches.
Okay,
right?
now, yeah.
Separating the baseband from the main CPUs, so the cell phone companies have no access to the running memory.
Now you're speaking my language. Okay.
Plug in a little USB-C adapter and stick it into an HDMI, and now you have physical wired and not hackable USB keyboard, USB mouse, and a monitor at your desk. And the desktop that comes up on your screen is just like a GNOME desktop. And then you unplug that phone and go walking out the door. Every piece of software you were running is still right there, running in a, sort of mobile-y mode. And then you go wherever you're going. You can do anything. You run LibreOffice? You run LibreOffice. Does not that sound totally righteous, my dude? Does that not sound cool?
But Billy made with me and add a Faraday pouch. Do that for me.
No, you're totally right. Everyone deserves a Faraday pouch. And for those of you who don't know,
they actually are a thing.
Those are a real thing. I almost should have one on my set here just to show people. It's just a little. It's just like a Faraday cage. If you want to see a real Faraday cage in action, go to my like video or YouTube channels and search for Cage of Death. I went inside a giant Faraday cage and got blasted with a giant Tesla coil a couple of times.
Nice.
So you can see what a Faraday cage does. It kind of basically makes it so no wireless signals are going through that sucker, right? So in a Faraday little pouch, you stick your phone in. It has kind of the same impact as putting your phone in the microwave. Right, but not turning it on. Don't turn the microwave on. But like sticking your phone in there, it cuts it off. Like it can't communicate with the outside world. Have a little Faraday pouch with you. Foop. It's glorious. But you know what, Clayton? To answer your question, yeah, I would. I would totally use a Linux phone as my computer. I mean, half of what I do literally, at least half of my computing I do on little things like this, which runs DOS and is literally a 186 processor, not a 386 or a 286. It's a 186. Well, kind of, sort of. It's a weird bastard child of it, but it's pardon my French. But like these sorts of things I already do it on. So if I have a really righteous Linux phone, why wouldn't I use it as my computer?
Certainly. Well, and what's nice is that, I think that if you have the pouch, I'm on board. I love the other features. Like I said, Linux is the frosting. I think that's great, but for me, it's got to solve that problem. Privacy is awesome. And the pouch is just a nice Billy Mays play.
Well, everyone needs a pouch. Everyone needs a Faraday pouch for everything they do.
For my phone, you betcha.
Absolutely.
You don't get any best part is the best block call killer in the world. You won't get a single call.
But right? You get no robocalls when it's in the Faraday cage. Though there is the other side of things. Like right now, like I'm assuming you're calling me from a desktop, right? Is this your desktop?
I am.
Yeah. See, me
it
too.
Is, and it's running Linux.
See, I've got my Pogo powered desktop right next to me, and it's all righteous.
Sure.
I couldn't make this show on any phone hardware that's currently out. It's just not doable. No. I mean, maybe in the future it would be, but it's just not doable. Like I can record video clips, edit them, and upload them on a little Linux powered phone. But I can't do the live compositing with all the GPU acceleration and all that on any phone that's currently out. Plus, it's just not going to be doable. So I still need my desktop. So when I say I would use it as my computer, that's true. In that maybe for all my things but my video work, I guess, and most of my gaming. Yeah. Okay, maybe I wouldn't use my phone as my computer. I don't know. It feels weird. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that it's one of those. Let's learn from marketing mistakes is that you're trying to appeal to everything of all types of things, and it's like I think phone that can address privacy and address the fact that it's running free software,
is great. That's the key.
Does it really well.
Yeah, that's the key. Like, like this guy right here.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I'm talking about. Yep. Yeah, it's good stuff. Exactly. Anyway, but yes.
And to hit strong points. Yep, cool.
Yeah, strong points is cool. But so Clayton, yeah, honestly, it's rad. I mean, that was the goal of like the Ubuntu phone before it crashed and burned. And that's been the goal of a couple of different Android projects before those crashed and burned and whatnot. And I'm not saying that every project like that crashes and burns, but I think Matt's right. Focusing on making the phone great first is kind of the key. Like with the Librem 5 and whatnot, like good phone first. But then if I have a really good phone and it just so happens that I can plug in a USB-C to HDMI adapter and suddenly have it piped out and have a full GNOME desktop with my keyboard and mouse, do I not want that?
Right.
The answer is I totes do.
Yeah.
I totally want that. Oh, anyway.
Definitely.
Before we move on to the next question, Matt. So I got the sponsors of the show, right? I think since you went away on your dinosaur quest, Linode became a sponsor of this show, right? I think that was since then.
Nice.
And they've been sending me pictures that are adorable. And you can't see this picture right now because of the way we're doing the recording. This one is fantastic. It looks like the Windows 95 start screen, except it says Linux Cloud Computing. It has the Linode thing on it. They've been sending me like these retro and or ironic pictures that they keep coming up with. And they are glorious. They've got like Super Nintendo and Genesis ones they've been sending me. They sent me one that was like the flying toasters from After Dark, except for all like Linuxy and whatnot. Anyway, Linode is a sponsor of this show. Go to linode.com/Lundu.
Nice.
They have wicked nice VPSs and stuff.
Good
$20
choice.
credits, stuff like that. Next question. Yeah. Winston asks, I'm looking for a Windows Movie Maker alternative. Kdenlive and OpenShot are too advanced for my wife's needs, and imagination is not quite enough. I need a Linux app that is capable of doing Windows Movie Maker level of edits with Windows Movie Maker level of ease of use. Huh.
Ooh.
I'm stumped.
I mean, yeah. So
Kdenlive is my go-to.
So I already know exactly what the problem is because I've run into this with other some of my offline clients actually, in that people are addicted to workflows.
Yeah, they get used to it.
Yeah, I mean they don't care if their operating system's running Cheeto Dust. It's whatever, but it's the workflow that they get addicted to. The tools are part of that workflow, and then there's your problem. So at this particular point, what we're seeing is you've got to try and appeal to that workflow. And ease of use can sometimes do that, but because all of Linux software really, well, actually, Kino would have been ideal for what he was looking for, but unfortunately, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
that has the workflow
Kino's dead. Yeah.
But that had the workflow that would have been closest, sadly.
It kind of would have.
It really would have.
Yeah.
It would have. Perfect. Yeah. So I think, honestly, if I was going to point to something that's just stupid easy, I would say, forget what the heck that's called. I want to say Avidmux or something like that.
Avidemux. Yes,
yeah,
that one.
That might be an option in that it's incredibly vanilla.
Does PTV still exist?
Yeah, but again, it's the same. It's the nonlinear.
It's the timeline. It's more like Kdenlive. Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. It is more like that. Huh.
So here's the problem, and
I feel like
you're going to have to go to an online solution. I hate to say it, but if you're if you're
Don't
wanting to be on
that
Linux,
to Winston's wife.
No. I'm saying those are your options. You have to go.
Do you literally hate Winston's wife? I mean, that is just not nice,
but
man.
I mean, but here's the conversation, and you're married, and you know this is true because this is how it would be in my house. Oh, I can't do that thing that I need to do with the thing that I need to do. So
you're right.
It's like, and so she's gonna be like, well, I'm gonna need Windows back. Let's not set that on fire. So no, let's not do that. So what is the alternative?
What is the alternative? What online? Are there online things that you can use that are good?
A lot of really good ones, actually.
Really?
The problem is again, you're gonna have to. It's gonna cost money, but there are trials. There's
well, I mean, money's okay.
Whatnot.
Yeah,
so if you want to keep it on a Linux box and you can you're willing to sell your soul like I've done, just use something like WeVideo, WeVideo.com.
Oh, that's right. I've heard of. That's right. There is that one. All right. I mean, I guess
ones, but that's a reputable one that I can recommend. That I don't feel really horrible.
See, here's how I fly. If I can't do it on Linux, I don't do it on modern computing stuff. I just don't. Okay. Like I go old school. So like if I can do it on Linux, I'm game. If I can't, I have to go back in time at least 20 years on both hardware and software before I feel like I'm allowed to use it. So like what you do is you go onto the ebays.coms and you buy yourself an old CRT iMac and put iMovie on there from like the late 1990s. Get a 20-year-old Mac OS 9 running Macintosh for like $100 and plop that down in front of your wife. That's easy to use and you're good to go. Or since you're talking Windows Movie Maker anyway, why not get a virtual machine rocking and let your wife just use Windows Movie Maker in a virtual machine inside Linux? It's Windows Movie Maker. It's just Windows Movie Maker.
There's it's not,
it's not that intensive of overhead, is
Probably
it? Like
not. Well, the rendering's where it gets you.
Yeah, but
and all the proprietariness, you can't just export it to an XML file and import it in something you want to render. I mean, you can't put it in.
So you got to render it inside the VM, but
I mean, maybe you could do something to where you get it in melt. But anyway, it'd be a nightmare, and she just laugh at you. Another option is honestly, if you want to just go a full Amiga and then just do Video Toaster, it was good enough for the pilot episode of Babylon 5, by the way. So.
It was the 3D and everything was done in that. Oh man! So
there you go.
I have actually been, just as a side note, I've been slowly trying to piece together a complete Amiga 2000 Video Toaster system, because I want to do an episode of this show just in Video Toaster. And record it off onto a VHS. I'm like smacking my mic here. VHS tapes, and then import that VHS tape with the tracking just a little off. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just gonna make sure the tracking's not quite perfect. Import that in there and upload that sucker to the YouTubes. That's the best of both old and new right there. I think that just sounds amazing.
And if you can do the little Dolby stereo at the bottom,
you know what I should do is, if I actually manage to get that system working and do that, I should make it so that when the video starts playing, it's got the tracking issues, and then it clearly acts like it was recorded over something else, and then make it like 1.5 seconds of Babylon 5, and then it just right into the Lunduk show. Yeah. So Winston, there you go. You've got some really useful ideas there for how you can do
actionable. Right? Yeah.
Action items right there. Absolutely. Gardner, better known as the Linux Gamer, asks, what is holding Linux back? What is it? He just asked that question. 5 simple words. What is it? What is holding Linux back, Matt? I'm not sure back from what.
It's waiting to be unleashed, right?
Yeah.
I think the big issue is that it really hasn't been held back. It doesn't require a ton of fanfare. So, and what I mean by that is that it's already been implemented in almost everything we use every day right now. So, I mean, you go to an ATM, it's probably running Linux. You use an Android phone, there's Linux in there. You use a Chromebook, guess what? That's running on Gentoo at some level. It's pretty much everywhere already. So, in that sense, that's already happened. And the structure of Linux itself is more of it's really just about the kernel. It's at the underpinning, so it doesn't really have the brand recognition that Apple or Windows or some of these other guys have. It took Google to take Chrome.
Still everywhere.
Yeah, it is everywhere.
I mean, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I consider Chromebooks or Android to
it's
be
not
Linux.
pure Linux. It's
but
not.
it's the Linux kernel, and you're right.
Exactly.
Chrome OS is Gentoo. It's Gentoo, which is mind-boggling because Gentoo, it gives you so much power that it just doesn't work, and Chrome OS gives you absolutely no power whatsoever, and yet it works well. It's very odd that Google would choose that as the basis of anything, but the fact that they did and made it work is just a tribute to their masochism. I'm not really.
It's amazing how they were able to basically borrow the idea from a company called Zombu and literally do everything they did just a little better with better servers, then claim they invented it.
Do you remember the Little? LITL? It was this GNOME based, for those of you who don't know it, I did a review of this sucker over a decade ago, so long before Chrome OS was a glimmer in the alphabet eye. Like, it was this little laptop. It was a netbook, but it was just this Gecko-based rendering engine. It was just Firefox-ish, and it just had this thing where you just pop between full screen web browsing views, and that's all it was. And it was the cutest little laptop in the world. Their slogan was, because it didn't do a lot, was "It's not a lot, just a little." And I'm like, that's adorable.
Oh, that's good.
It's good, right? And you popped it open, and it gave you this deck of flashcards with cartoons on it showing you how to use your Little. And it like won all sorts of awards for its packaging. And then when it launched officially, it crashed in Mushroom Cloud, and everyone went and worked for other companies. It was delightful. To answer your question, Gardner, nothing is holding Linux back. Nothing at all. Well, it's here. It's doing great. How is it not doing great? Gardner is running a Linuxy show. There's Matt. Is he running Linux right now? You run Linux right now, Matt?
Yeah, I am running Linux. Actually, it's Ubuntu. So yeah,
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. I can say Ubuntu, but I can't get the letter in front of it and make that
Ubuntu.
And I end up looking like some sort of like a Max Headroom stuck in vertical hold. It's just
X Ubuntu. Whoa, that made my hair go cool.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, I guess you could look at it and define success, define it being held back. It's really not. It just doesn't care. It's not a single entity. I mean, it's really introduce yourself to Linus. Ask him how much he really gives a rip. He's considers it successful. So
well, yeah, he wins. He declared a long time ago that the moment Microsoft starts making applications that run on Linux, he's won. And this happened some time back. And now Linux is a cornerstone of Microsoft's money-making endeavors. Yep. So, I mean, what more winning do we want? I can record this entire show 100% with all open sourcey stuff and free software and Linux. I'm on a Linux desktop right now running GNOME.
GNOME. Okay.
It's like
okay?
GIF. It's like GIF. The J is, the G and J.
Implied.
Yeah, right. But I don't know. Like, what more do I want? Like, I have like a billion amazing video games. I have all the productivity and video production software I want nowadays. I do all the image stuff I could possibly want. I mean, occasionally I'll see like a piece of software for Mac or Windows or something that like, I'm like, oh, I wish I had that feature from that in this open source software I use. Sure. But inevitably it'll come anyway because it always does. So I'm like, all right, I can just be patient and hang out here in my shirt covered in dancing ladies, and I'll be fine. I'll make it. Like, nothing's holding Linux back. You know what? You know what's holding Linux back? I don't know. I was going to come up with something snarky to say, but nothing's really holding Linux back.
Oh, I honestly, it's what people want for it. I think more than anything, it's we want to see it. We want to see commercials, and we tried that with IBM and the creepy little M&M looking kid, sitting in the room going, we had enough of that.
He's learning. and then Penny Marshall comes. Marshall comes in and she's like, listen, kid. You gotta get out there, kid. And then they were like, oh, Linux. Yeah. Linux is the albino kid in the weird white room.
Yeah. So we never really did advertising well. I think the closest I ever saw was the parody of the Mac commercials with the young woman that would come in next to the other two.
You know what? I got to give credit where credit's due. Like almost all of the good advertising on the Linux side of things came from SUSE. almost all of it. And
Yeah,
because
that's true.
that was Novell, when Novell owned SUSE, was when they did the hi, I'm Linux. Yeah. How long you been there? Long time. Like it was a great,
the way they did that was really clever. Yeah.
Right? They did a great job on that, and the music videos and whatnot. I like the music videos. I'm a sucker for a good parody music video. But I don't really think anything's holding Linux back.
No, so here's if people want to do something, if you're just jumping up and down in your chairs, you want to make something happen, install it on people's new old hardware before they go out and buy new stuff. Yeah. That's honestly how you plant the seeds of change. You got to get them in front of it. You want to all do that, you go ahead. I've done it for years. It's fine. I've had successes with it, but that's on us. I mean, no entity's going to do that for you. They're too busy trying to sell hardware and do their own thing and look at their own businesses and do what's important to them, targeting the companies and things they need to do. As far as getting adoption, well, that's not really what these companies are in the business of doing.
Just going to throw this out there. There's several Linux specific and free software specific hardware companies now. I mean, Pogo, Purism, System 76, Zarizen. Dell has not given up the put Ubuntu and ship it on their hardware game, and they're having at least some success with it. Like, there's a lot of companies that are, all of them are growing. Like you don't look around and you'd be like, oh, there's Purism, there's System 76, oh, there's Dell. None of them are going. They're all getting bigger and more successful selling hardware that's just running Linux. It's awesome.
The one thing I see some of them doing really right is, I'd say Pogo and Dell specifically have very specifically identified their targets, and they nail that. They do a really great job. I see Purism as saying, hey, here's a completely missed opportunity that's obvious. Let's nail that one. It's privacy. Duh. Let's nail that one. I don't really know where the other guys are at and what they're doing, but
man, I should have had my Purism laptop here so I could just put the kill switches in front of the screen for everybody. And also, I should probably not comment too much on that. I'm a little bit biased on the Purism side. I'm not.
I received nothing for any of them, so I mean, I'm brutally honest on all fronts, as I was earlier.
You let her rip. Honestly, I love all the companies that are putting Linux on hardware. There's companies like, I have no association with Dell, right? Dell's a huge company, but they're putting Linux and free software on laptops. I love that. That's great. Keep it up. Purism, obviously, I mean, they're kind of like, their philosophy is like mine, which is why I do the marketing work with them. It's great. Right. System 76, they're rocking it out. The Pogo guys, man, they've been putting Linux on hardware almost as long as Linux has existed.
Right.
They've been around for 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years. And there's just so many companies that are like that are just doing some awesome stuff. I just don't see anything holding Linux back. And it's the thing is, I don't know that there's a lot of runway left to go, because if we dominate the server market, we dominate the mobile market, we're slowly dominating like very weird markets like Chromebooks and whatnot, and the companies that are shipping hardware like desktop PCs and laptops with Linux are all growing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about such a massive install base that we have a highly self-sufficient ecosystem for everyone who wants to be involved in it, which is better than most of the platform ecosystems of the 80s and 90s. And many of those were considered not just successes, but monumental successes. Right. There's more people using Linux than ever used an Amiga. There's more people using Linux in various forms than ever used the classic Mac OS, and those were successes. And so I'm like, well, where do we go from there?
And
people tend to use Linux more than they use Microsoft products nowadays.
That's right.
So
And
what do we want to win?
Where Linus started out at, hey, I'm looking to solve the issue of the fact that I don't have $1 trillion to go buy this other ridiculous machine. Yeah. I'm going to figure out something I can do. But he solved a problem.
Right. Putting a mildly Linux compatible operating system on a 386. That's the problem everyone needed solving. He did it.
Well, no, but here's the thing. He solved it for himself,
and it worked.
That's the cool part,
right?
Yeah, that's the cool part. No, he didn't solve it for the masses at the time at all. I mean, it was really not I can't. Grandma's in the kitchen going, "Hey, no, Sonny, I gotta get into the terminal," and that just didn't happen. So.
I love what you just did right there. That just made me happy. So yeah, Gardner, nothing's holding it back. We're rocking out. We're living the sweet life. Down in beautiful San Fernando Valley. Next question from Graham. Not strictly a Linux question, but I would be interested in your views on ad blockers. Do you think Linux journal revenue could have been impacted by ad blockers? I've seen many for and against claims and wondered if we use one and our reasoning behind our choice. So for the background for everyone, Linux journal, may she rest in peace, died a horrible death the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I was the deputy editor over at Linux Journal for 1 year. It was awesome. I got to be involved, and I talked about this a little bit. I got to be the deputy editor of the Granddaddy Linux magazine. I don't know how I lucked out into that. That was pure luck, and it was so awesome that I got to be involved. Sorry I killed it, everybody.
You didn't kill it. It's okay. So, little history. I've been involved with four different companies that have all had their butts handed to them because of the way people are interpreting content these days, the change that happened. Yeah. My early years were at Lockernome. That's where I cut my teeth, and then progressed into bigger and better things from there. And every single time, and most of these guys actually blame. I know my former boss at Lockernome certainly blames ad blockers. I disagree. Completely. I don't think it's ad
Perillo
blockers.
Totally does.
No, he really does.
He really does.
And I get it. I mean, I watched Rome burn. It was not pretty. So it's not just ad blockers. It's the fact that the model evolved. People have no loyalty to where they get their information for anymore. It might as well be an aggregator, which a lot of times it is.
It is.
So Linux Journal puts out great content, a great article. You're really into it. It's awesome. It's whatever. And they may not come back until they may go jump to the other site and go look at something else.
It's so true. You don't have. It used to be that, it's like, and it's this way throughout all of news and the like. It used to be like the New York Times, the paper of record. That was where you turned. The Los Angeles Times. There was a series of papers that were just so revered. You did a subscription to them, and you would be dedicated to them because you respected them, and that was where you found the most journalistic integrity and the like. And we had the same thing on the Linux side of things, where for a time, like Linux Journal, it was the gold standard. Like you look at it, and be like, that's the one.
Yep.
Like if there's one spot where I get my Linux news and opinions and tutorials and everything else to just keep me up to date, I'll go with that. And there was a number of other great magazines too. I don't want to poo-poo on the magazines because there's several of them my friends have written for over the years, and they're great. But you're right. It is the changing face of how people get their content. I mean, people aren't even really all that loyal to like their news channels or their news shows anymore. They get little clips of things on the YouTubes, and then they see something inflammatory and sensational tweeted out on the Tweeterverses, and they get shared a little clip that's out of context on the Facebookses, and then whether it's tech news or political news or whatever it is, that's where they get it all, and they assume at that point, well, I've gotten it all, and then they just move on. And here's another, you know what? This dovetails into a secondary question. We got a follow-up question from Alex here.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on the current state of Linux journalism?
Oh, perfect.
Do you think it is dying out or changing into something new? This is literally the next question. So let's just dive right into this. Is it dying out? Yup. Is it changing into something new? Kinda, but it's also dying. So it's
fire?
like, yes, it's like a tire fire. But it's if you create a video, just as an example, if we create this video, and let's say we put this all around one particular topic, we researched it, we provided quotes and facts, and then we provided a little bit of running color commentary on it and put it out there like you would in a traditional like news broadcast. Mm-hmm. If we did that, invariably it would receive a certain level of success, but a great number of people would be upset because this would be better if it was all written down. I just want to read the content. Don't make me sit through a half hour of your shenanigans and talkity. I just want to read it real quick. But then if you sit down and write it down and write an amazingly well-written article, which the guy sitting next to me has written about 1 billion of those over the years, you sit down and Come on, you've written a ton of articles,
I've
and
written a lot of stuff over the years.
Some of them are pretty gosh darn good.
Some of them were good, and I'm going to dive into where the change happened. And
some of them are very good. You're one of the better ones out there, man. You always have.
That's terrifying. Okay, go ahead.
You don't know the half of it. Yes, you do. The audience doesn't know the half of it. Yeah. But you write those articles, and you create those well-written pieces that are. You can write a beautiful 3,000 word just monstrosity of amazing insight and commentary and facts and everything, and it's just well researched, and 7.5 people will read it. It is ridiculous. It's just the way it is. I would
counter with 4, but that's just me. I think 7 is generous.
Yeah, so, it's horrifying. Matt, please. So
here's the thing, and this applies to video or anything else. I have in the past, if you go to my old website, freedompenguin.com, and look at the really hardcore in depth stuff that I'd done.
Yeah,
no one cared. I mean, I'm talking about like really, like actually solving a Bluetooth problem in audio, like it's really deep stuff.
Yeah, deep stuff.
No, who cares? Whoop-de-doo.
None.
Top 10 reasons why I use Ubuntu.
Dude, top 10 reasons something Ubuntu. Yes, that's it.
And
that's
not accident.
Right?
I had a powerful need to eat, so there's that.
Right, and you look at the couple of websites that are trying to ink along. Most of the Linux magazines, OMG Ubuntu, all of them. That's like, I'm exaggerating, but it's like 90% of their content is just stuff like that. And it's not that there's not good stuff in there. It's just that's what it is now. And I hate to even say that it's clickbait, because it's not clickbait.
No,
everything is clickbait. Every single article that has ever been written is clickbait. The whole point of writing an article is that hopefully someone reads it, and you create a headline that catches people's attention and they read it. That's what the New York Times headlines and the front banners, and that's what all of them is. Everything is clickbait. The title of every video is clickbait by definition. It's good that it's clickbait. You want people to click it, you give them some bait. However, it's gotten so homogenized into this. Here's what works, so repeat after me. And like there are certain companies. So I wrote for IDG for a long time. They did Network World and PC World and IT World and a bunch of different worlds that came after computery names. And they had a bunch of great writers writing for them. I mean, some really good ones. And most of them were instructed to write, well, could you write top 12.5 reasons why Kubernetes is an effective stack for deploying rational blah, blah, blah. It's like no one reads, and you write those articles. And I did. I wrote some of those articles, and I hated it. I just hated it. My soul dripped out of my body as I was writing them. And then they get read by like literally hundreds of people at most. And it's absolutely just horrifying. All those articles that you find about, why SaltStack is the preferred derp. Nobody reads them. Nobody does. The only people that read them are the people who paid a person to write them for them. Right. Outside of that, nobody cares. It's just ridiculous. And so Linux journalism, by and large, it's dying because we as a community have not given the support to people to do real good, actual long form journalism. Like Linux Journal did this series on literally designing and coding and building your own operating system kernel. It was amazing. The guy that wrote it, Petros, is one of the most brilliant guys ever, fantastic writer, and he was going through how to do all this amazing stuff, right? But still, the magazine did not see the support from not just the community, but from potential readers to make that something that people were going to be able to fund and keep going. It's sad. It's real sad for me. It's real sad.
It's unfortunate, but I mean, I think it underlines a bigger problem in that. So my last writing gig, my last big one anyway.
Was that Datamation?
Yeah, it was Datamation. Yeah. If you go to their homepage right now, the words big and data will basically just blow through your eyeballs as much as you, and that's not a negative thing, but if you look at their topic layout, it's big data, cloud, data center, artificial intelligence. They're going for buzzwords, and that's not that is, like I said, the editor's doing what he has to keep the site alive. He's making some tough choices. I couldn't write about any of those topics if I wanted to. I could probably do a little cloud stuff, but that'd be about the end of it. Artificial intelligence. I don't even like artificial sweetener. So, no.
Right.
But under more topics, open source has been migrated into there. In that section, you will find the most canned articles possible. It's all about the top 5 reasons why I wrote this article and the top 10 reasons why I'm regretting my life choices and all this other stuff. That's just, it's unfortunate, but it's the topics that we thought at the time were going to get the eyeballs. But what they found is they weren't getting the revenue. So now they've said, okay, so we're going to do these things for white papers and revenue that are enterprise centric. And of course, no one's going to read them. No one cares.
Well,
but whatever.
It's a short-term thing. So like Network World did the same thing, right? So I was writing Linux stuff for Network World, right? Yeah. I was their Linux guy. And I wrote, over the course of about 5 years, I wrote almost 2 Tolkien novels worth of words, literally. I stopped counting after around the 2.5-3 year mark, and I did Fellowship of the Rings in word count just on Linux articles for them, right?
Great.
And some of it was good, some of it wasn't, but whatever. But then they decided they wanted to focus more on data center stuff and big data and cloud providers and things like that, right? And they were going to be trying to get companies to come in and pay for white papers and things like that. The problem is my articles were bringing in traffic about Linux and everything else. Once they were like, okay, Brian, stop writing those and write about how the Kubernetes salt stack cluster is in the cloud database high performance grid. And they're like, okay. And so we start writing that stuff, and it went from we're getting good traffic to and into the toilet, which meant that you're only able to at that point, and I can't speak to what they're doing now because I'm not involved, but you're only able to actually monetize the traffic that you most recently had. So if you take a tank in and you went from 100,000 people are reading these articles every week to, well, now you're lucky if you break 10,000 articles or 10,000 views in a week. Well, who's paying for that? Like, I mean, at that point, you might as well like advertise on like the dumpiest YouTube channel you can find. It might as well. Like, what's the?
Exactly.
It's horrible. It's
a problem that's getting worse. It's gotten worse.
Way worse.
It's so bad that I've had to adjust how I do things, and I've had to move into more of an offline space to where I'm doing offline consulting stuff.
How horrible is that? I mean, not horrible. I mean,
it is. It is.
But
horrible.
I mean.
Because I'm solving really ugly problems that I don't want to deal with. I mean, it's like
there's the thing. You're good at this stuff, right? Yeah. Like if we have a healthy tech journalism industry, those journalistic companies should be coming to Hartley and saying, please write for us because we need the assistance. Sure. And it's not just saying that, because you have pedigree. I mean, you've proven over years and in multiple types of scenarios, because you're 117 years old now. And you've been covering Linux since the late 1800s.
Right. Yeah.
And so
the old timers know who I am, which is something, right? I mean,
right.
The guys that were writing back in the 80s.
This is the old timer show. If you're under the age of 30 and you're watching this show, welcome, buddies. We'll let you know how it was in ye olden times. But it's but they should be banging down your door, right?
You would think, but at the same time, I'm kind of okay with it. I know, but I know. Yeah, I know. I mean, there was a time I would have agreed with you, but I finally came to realize it's like, I'm in a point in my life where I'm doing things my way. And my ways, as I got older.
Full Frank Sinatra. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Brat Pack. Anyway.
Yeah, let's call it the Brat
Pack. That's a whole different pack.
That's a different decade and everything.
Yeah, that's a Molly Ringwald versus Sinatra thing. But anyway.
I would watch that movie.
That would be really weird.
Yeah. If Tina Turner was also involved and she's like, welcome to Thunderdome, and it was Sinatra and Ringwald.
Like a Don King thing going.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think at this point in my life, I'm really moved toward practical. I want practical things for practical solutions. Yeah. It happens that Linux solves most of my practical needs.
So you're good there. But
so it works out. And it's been like that for a long time. And that isn't, it never really sat well with purists, but at the same time, they tolerated me just because I didn't really push like DRM is a good thing, but at the same time, I don't really care where others might. But I don't. I genuinely don't care. I do care because I will.
But that's good. I mean,
but I've also
need a variety of viewpoints in all this.
Kicked over a rock on a whole different segment of privacy stuff that's honestly a hell of a lot scarier. But that's beside the point in a different video. So yeah, it's just one of those things to where you kind of roll with the punches and adjust. And we'll have to see where it goes.
So Alex and
nothing to anyone,
Graham and Alex. So this is all a kind of a broader question. I mean, things have changed a lot.
Product placement. Come on.
That is so true. It is terribly difficult. The good news is there are quite a few companies out there that are trying to support some of the smaller. I don't want to use the word creator because I hate that word, but some of the smaller journalists and video producers and whatnot that are trying to get this sort of content out there, like the sponsors of this show, and there's many other sponsors that are helping other shows as well. And so,
yes,
from my standpoint, I think the best thing we can do to kind of help the state of tech and Linux, specifically journalism, is to let those companies know that we appreciate that. And if we're not buying things from them, let them know that, hey, if we were in the market for what they make, we'd buy from them first, because they're helping to support things in the community that are helping actual Linux journalism. I don't even want to say that what I do here on this show is journalism, because I don't know what you've been watching for the last 45 minutes, but I don't know that I'd call it journalism, but it was great so far. But the fact that it's existing, you know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah. Well, here you go. LWN.net. If you want real hardcore, no ad, no nonsense kind of stuff. I mean, they have a premium edition you can log into. They pay their writers.
Is one of the few. Yeah. LWN is one of the few that I would still direct people to. A lot of the existing outlets out there, and I'm not going to name names because that's just going to get mean. But a lot of the existing outlets out there, whether it's videos or podcasts or blogs or whatnot, tend to get real just territorial and cliquey and mean.
Yeah, they do.
And it happens a lot within the broader tech space. And it's not just a Linux problem, but it's tech and computing in general. But in the Linux world, we're so small that there's, like, let's say there's between 5 and 7 reasonably sized podcasts out there, and there's another less than 10 news websites, blogs and magazines and whatnot, and there's a handful of YouTube type channels.
Then there's the catch-all guys, the guys that the websites and the YouTube channels that kind of are a catch-all for all things tech, and then all things,
right. Yeah. But on the Linux specific side of things, you can stick all of us in one medium-sized room. And it's really weird because half of them hate the other half, like blood-curdling hate. It's crazy. You go to not green rooms, but press rooms at like tech conferences. Oh man, people get just angry at each other, just mean. Like some of the people hate me, some of the people hate Hartley here, which is weird to me because he's the most adorable person on the planet. Some people are very just bound to each other, and some people have such a distinct bias heading into what they cover that it just it's just hard to watch. It's hard to watch.
It's unfortunate. One of the best things I did for myself is when I took a break from the online community and pulled my head out and from the sand and kind of looked around a little bit and got some sun, and all that sort of thing. I came to realize it's just like, honestly, that's fine. If that's what people need to do, that to hell with them. That's up to them.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, that's their business. That's their program. But I think that we just need to kind of accept the fact that everyone's going to be different, and people will be trolls. Haters be hating.
Haters be hating.
That's what they're going to do, right?
And and some of the haters and trolls are people that run some of the existing news sites.
This is true, and some of them live in their mommy's basements, but that's okay. You
know what? He says that derogatorily, but I know one example that's exactly what he's talking about. All right, before we dive into the final questions, Pogo Linux, one of those companies that supports people doing stuff. They support Linux conferences. They fund things. They do giant giveaways at conferences. They support shows like this one. The first company that's ever supported this show years ago now, still with me, still helping make this sort of thing happen. Go to pogolinux.com and price out a giant workstation or wicked awesome rack mounts or all sorts of stuff. The NAS servers alone that these guys put together make you drool. It's just fantastic.
They've been supporting people since, since people were still doing Linux on stone tablets. Like Grog's all in there, all terminal. They've been doing this forever.
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 And
I think at Linux Fest Northwest specifically, like day one from
20 years.
Yeah.
They were there the very first year.
Yeah. They were part of the original lug. I remember being part of that. Not the first year, but I think the second or third year. I remember they were part of the lug meetings for that. I remember that. So
isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's amazing. Nice to sit long enough to actually listen to a lug meeting. But and
a lot of the same guys. A lot of the same folks. You're like, I would really like to go to a company that could help design computers that's been doing Linux computers for longer than most people have been alive. Right. PogoLinux.com. Yeah. It's fantastic.
They have solved solutions you didn't know were a problem yet. Let's just put it that way.
Right. And they did it a decade or more ago.
Yeah. Which is not a bad slogan, by the way, guys. I'm just saying.
Oh man, every time. Every time I get one of the folks from Pogo on, we end up digressing into remember the 90s, remember hard drives that we had in the 90s, and we start talking about various RAID solutions, and we're like, we kind of forgot that was a thing. I used to have ISA cards. What?
Let me put my Packer Shell here.
This question's from Ross. I still don't understand what the outrage was over Ubuntu's plans to drop 32-bit support. Couldn't the people that need it still get the files they needed through a repo somewhere? That happens a lot in Linux. Shouldn't we just encourage the pursuit of newer things? Ross. So for those of you who are unaware, quick thing, and I'm going to let Hartley unleash on you. Ubuntu was like, we'll just drop the 32-bit support, not just the build, but the 32-bit multi-arch libraries from our default stuff. And so it'll be hard to run 32-bit compiled applications on the 64-bit Ubuntu unless you yada, yada, yada. Hartley.
So
sip of this.
I think one of the big things that came up early on, and it was actually one of the real actionable points you could aim at and say, here's a reason why I care, was gaming. And I know it sounds really
it's Steam
for Steam specifically. Now this may, as of the date of this recording, this probably has been resolved. And I believe I read something along the lines that they did resolve this. That's fine. So just let me disclose that.
My understanding is that Canonical and Ubuntu were just like, never mind.
Yeah.
Just teasing. Just
then
teasing,
they
guys.
took care of that. Yeah. But at the time, it had that happen. And it's like Steam's like, that's not going to work, and we don't really have a plan to fix that right now.
Yeah. So we're not going to recommend anyone use Ubuntu ever again
because of all the games and just all these components. And now, in fairness, I would point to Valve perhaps needing to rethink how they structured their Steam client, but that's a different conversation.
You have a decent
Doing it on 32-bit probably wasn't the brightest move in the world.
Well, dude, how many games do you honestly, if you're
so here's the thing.
Older SimCity does not need 64 gigawatts of Ramsonators.
Okay, so so here's the dealio, right?
Lay it on me.
So you're right. However, when you're saying, hey, we're about to do a new oh, that's a great freeze I just got on you. A new client or a new game or whatever. Don't base it on old technology. Obviously, backwards compatibility is our friend. I love things that like backwards compatibility. It's important, but I think you have to, if you're going to develop for something new, you do have to be realistic in that growth pattern. So I'm sensitive to that. But I think at the time, that idea of rather than having backwards compatibility, screw it, we're just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that didn't really sit well with people because I like my old games. I like things that maybe are older that run. I want to, the DRM-free good stuff, that you can get from DRM-free stores that maybe are 32-bit based. I want to be able to run that stuff. That's backwards compatibility.
No. It's not only do you like older stuff, I know for a fact if I hop on to like the tweeters or whatnot, if I want to get Matt Hartley to respond to something, I need to bring up games or TV or movies that came out before 1985. Like there's definitely a 1985 line, and after that, Hartley's like, I'm out. I'm not interested.
I don't care.
I'm not interested.
Yeah. Once we stop doing parachute pants, I stopped worrying about how people dress.
Whoa, parachute pants was mostly lit. Like,
hey,
well,
they had zippers and they worked. Kangaroo shoes, and you were done. I'm just saying.
Shoes. I'd forgotten about kangaroo shoes.
See?
Why did I forget about kangaroo shoes?
Right?
There are literally at least 1,000 20-year-olds right now watching this show that went, I'm going to do a Google search for another kangaroo shoes.
Yeah. It's random
the things
stuff
you learn on a Linux show.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's my thoughts.
Okay. All right.
Why would you drop support? Like, why would you do that? Old stuff is better than new stuff like 90% of the time. If I was going to make a game right now and release it on Steam, I would absolutely, without hesitation, build it in DOS and release it as a DOS box client and wrapper inside of Steam. That would
work for me, yes.
That's what I would do. I would do that because I'd want to be able to target many platforms. I'd want it to exist for a long time. Have you tried to run old 32-bit Linux games anywhere recently? Like I have a box copy of Railroad Tycoon 2.
Right.
One of my favorite games of all time. Awesome. I love Railroad Tycoon 2.
Yeah.
It's great. It's simple but complex. It's fantastic. Getting it to run on modern Linux systems is a nightmare.
Yeah, I believe it.
And when you're done, your system will run nothing but Linux, but Railroad Tycoon 2. It is just horrifying. Because you have to install so many random libraries that will break everything else on your system, and all of a sudden Firefox won't launch anymore. It is a nightmare.
So here's what you do, because I have a solution to everything. Because I'm freaking Archie Bunker, which is even older reference, and no one has any idea what I'm talking about.
All right, Archie, lay it on me.
Archie. Anyway, Edith. Ugh. So. Honestly, if I was in the mind to save these things, right? If I was in the mind to save these things, maybe reach out for a licensing deal with like whoever produced that, assuming there's still a thing, or find out who has the rights to it currently. Usually someone buys this stuff out. Say, all right, look, you're not making any money on this. You don't care. You just bought the rights because, well, you're that kind of guy. Let me make you a deal. I want to roll this bad boy into a custom ISO. All right. I want to figure out a way to like just basically get this into a compartmentalized thing.
Image.
An app image, yeah. I mean, that would be, if you could do that, that might be a big image. But I mean, if you could do that,
it might be huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, whatever of those two makes the most sense. I'm not.
I like the idea though of having a game that literally is 10 megs in size that requires like a 1.2 gigabyte ISO app image just to be able to run.
Yeah, I mean, because that's
I love that idea.
All the ISO based stuff. That's why I keep going back to ISO. There's got a lot of stuff to go into a disk there. You get some sort of a distribution arrangement of that where you can actually get people to where they can just run that. And I do think having a dedicated box for that would be nice, whether it's on a thumb drive or however you decide to do that. Yeah. I think that would be appealing because it's like, oh, look, and my computer doesn't have a bunch of random, libs rolling around doing stuff. Just saying.
I mean,
I
don't disagree with what you're saying. But should they drop 32-bit support? No.
No.
And the final bit to this question from Ross was, shouldn't we encourage the pursuit of newer things? One word answer. No. We shouldn't necessarily encourage. We should encourage the pursuit of whatever feels good and looks good and works for us. I don't care if it's new or old. I just want it to be rad.
Well, and here's something I do in defense of old things. I'm historically fond of actually going to like a Goodwill or various secondhand store, and I get these $5 routers, right? I use them for honeypot.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And then I take my 32-bit netbooks that I have a stack of, and I set those up as laptops, and I let the magic happen. Yeah, and you find out a lot of really neat, cool stuff. So, as part of some of the things I do these days. So I see a value in old technology, and supporting that is kind of important to me. I don't want to have to download an old exploitable ISO that's even more exploitable than necessary. It's already honeypotted out. It's got the fake file system. I don't need to go further.
Fairly up-to-date Debian or whatever. That's extra nice.
Yeah, I'd rather things weren't getting fingerprinted and things like that. I kind of want to keep some basis of things. So yeah. I can definitely see a value in that. And I'm willing to pay for that. I would honestly pay a subscription if someone wanted to maintain that. That would be fine. I would be okay with that.
You know,
there's got to be a happy medium here somewhere.
I agree with you. I would be willing to pay a subscription for that sort of thing as well. Yeah.
And I have an actionable use for it. It's legitimately a business expense.
Not everything needs to be free in cost.
No.
If things are free in cost too long, you end up being the thing that's monetized. And I'm just kind of against that. All right, let's see if we can crank through these questions. Holy moly, I'm just all excited to have Hartley here.
Right.
Ray asks, all right, this is a good one. Hypothetical time. It's been a long time since we've had a good hypothetical on this show. Okay. You and Matt get to redesign an arcade classic, Golden Axe.
Ooh.
In your version, however, instead of the barbarian, the Amazon, or the dwarf, you pick 3 distributions to be your characters.
Wow.
Which distributions do you choose, and what weapons does each distribution yield? Remember, no barbarian, no Amazon, no dwarf.
But they can be representative of those characters, right?
Sure.
Okay.
We can make a distro that represents Amazon, Barbarian, and Dwarf.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
boy. You want to go first?
Yeah. I've got him.
Okay. Okay. All right.
The Barbarian is going to be replaced with Gentoo. Gentoo is going to be the Barbarian, and his weapon, Gentoo's weapon, is a manual that just says RTFM on it, and you throw your manual at the bad guys, and the bad guys die. The Amazon is replaced with Slackware. And Slackware has a big giant stick. That has nothing to do with Slackware as a distro. That's just the weapon Slackware chose. The dwarf. The dwarf is replaced by Ubuntu.
Really?
Or Ubuntu, stock Ubuntu, whatever the current version is. And the weapon of choice for Ubuntu is condescension. It runs through the world of Golden Axe and simply hurls its self-perceived importance at all the enemies until the enemies simply give up and lay down and die.
I got nothing. I would have to go with every one of those. That actually works. I would add that the dwarf would probably as he's hitting you with the axe, he's saying, should have used an LTS, crack. Should have used an LTS, crack. You're talking about you being the product, using one of their non-LTS releases, man.
I would like to point out that I have nothing but love for all 3 of those distributors.
Oh, of course. I use Ubuntu. I mean, I had my hands in parts of some stuff. So yeah, no, I didn't. I offered really vague, useless advice for Ubuntu Mate. Apparently, that made myself appear on a page one day. I don't even know how that happened.
I wanted to work in OpenSUSE somehow just so I could get the Geeko in there, but I couldn't find a way to do it without using the tongue as a weapon.
Go look at the Ubuntu Mate page, the computer reviews or whatever, and you'll see my big contribution, which was it's almost a joke. It's funny.
A little contribution from Matt goes a long way.
Yeah, clearly. Just here's some words. Try this. Oh, that's not terrible. Do that. I don't even know. I appreciate the sentiment. Wimpy was awesome. It was great.
Samantha asks, I need a good alternative to pop bang _ operating system for developers. Any thoughts? Okay, so Samantha's currently using pop from System 76, which is fine. It's based on Ubuntu with some extra tweaks on top. Great.
Sure.
It works fine. Don't see why you wouldn't recommend it to people. But for specifically developers, any thoughts around that?
Without knowing what she's trying to accomplish and what it's lacking, that would be tough. I mean, really, I'm not. I mean, if for developers, usually it's never the GUI because that's totally beside the point. It's about the tool set, whatever that tool, right? Whatever the tool is. So I can't think of what
thoughts.
I have
some thoughts. So Samantha, I've dogged on it in the past, but the reality is current releases of Fedora are really rock solid. They are surprisingly well polished nowadays. And Fedora does a really nice job of not being like bleeding edge so much so that your system's unstable, but pretty recent, right? So like if you want your latest versions of various IDEs and libraries, you're going to get almost the latest with Fedora, and that's pretty nice. That's a kind of a nice, happy place to be, where you're stable, but you're not rolling. You're not like a rolling constant release, because rolling releases can get problematic in some ways. But that's really nice. So the latest Fedora is nice there. The other way to go, of course, is if you're trying to convince someone on an ideological spectrum to go more towards either security focused or free software focused stuff, I would suggest one of the Free Software Foundation approved distributions, like Triskel, or PureOS, or various things like that, where you could say, okay, well, here's well-polished distributions, but that don't contain a whole lot of binary blobbiness, but are also still fairly up to date. Those would be the ways I would recommend personally. Just like right now, as of this moment, knowing how the various distributions are at this point in time, those are some pretty good choices. Normally, I would also suggest to people OpenSUSE Leap, which is their rock solid version of OpenSUSE. But the last couple of updates I've tried of that have been a little bit more buggy than in years past. So I'd maybe give them a little bit of time to iron a few of those issues out, and then maybe give that a try again later. So Fedora, I would say over OpenSUSE Leap for the moment. In 2 years ago, the situation was flipped. And might flip again in the future. That's how I would
true.
go.
Yeah, and of course, the advantage of Fedora is that it's always in line with your Red Hat Enterprise, space and all that. So
and mostly going to be easy to move stuff between that and CentOS, and it's. I like how I said CentOS. CentOS. Final question from Juan: if dpkg ceased to exist, which package manager would you choose to replace it? On all those Debian distributions are out there. Let's broaden this up.
So
dpkg and apt and all of it.
Right. No, I get what they're going with. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so everything that basically is Debian specific goes away. It's like, it's gone, right?
Gone.
So
out the door.
If it depends. If I'm sticking with Debian, then I'm pretty limited. I'm either using like Flatpak, something like that.
Let's say this. Okay. We're replacing. Those are gone. Those just gone. We snapped our fingers. Those cease to exist.
Right. Fair enough.
Matt Hartley controls Debian. All right. Matt Hartley gets to choose what the default package management will be for all of Debian, which is going to impact Ubuntu and Elementary and Mint and every other Debian downstream.
Oh, you know what you do is you implement Snap, and then you open up your task manager, and you just watch your CPU just keep spiking as all the little processes keep going up. No, I'm totally kidding. Right? Exactly. Oh, I like that.
No, I get you.
But no, I don't think that any of that type of stuff, whether it be Flatpak, app image, none of that's really solving a problem, because it's too much stuff packed into one thing running.
Stuff.
You don't need all that. Honestly, and you probably would have to shop around to see what works. But I'm going to say probably you're going to, as far as the packages themselves, you're going to want to say all right. How Alien, for example, can do deb to RPM and RPM to deb. I feel like there's a lot of flexibility there. I feel
for those of you, by the way, who don't know Alien, check out Alien. It's cool. You can take an RPM package and turn it into a Debian. It's fantastic.
And then bang your head against the desk when you realize it still doesn't work right because you didn't do it correctly.
But half the times it doesn't work. Yeah,
it never works. Yeah. But that's all right. It was a cool idea. I think that's probably the direction I would go. Is I would probably go with kind of the same direction as Fedora and all that. I think I'd probably end up going that general, just because I've seen there's enough parallel there. Not just package availability, they're so similar.
The technological structure behind, let's say, whether you're using apt or zipper or yum or any of that stuff, an RPM and a deb are fundamentally the same thing. They're simple archives filled with the files that you're copying in, and either a text file or a couple text files that describe it, tell you what to copy and what the version number is and what category it goes into and those sorts of things. And that's it. That's really all those files are. They're incredibly simple and very straightforward, which is a good thing. They're not extraordinarily over-engineered, at least not for the most part. Honestly, if dpkg and apt and all of that just went away today, if all the Debian package management management stuff would just snap my fingers and gone. I would just turn and pick up all the stuff on the OpenSUSE or either that or Fedora side of things. Either I'd probably go OpenSUSE because honestly, Zypper is quite nice. It does a really good job at figuring stuff out like that. And I mean this in the most
dependency handling and all that.
Yeah, it does a good job of that. I mean this in the most loving way to all my ex-OpenSUSE brethren, because I used to be on the board over there. Is that sometimes the repository itself for OpenSUSE gets kind of murky, and that can get problematic for dependency resolution. But the tools themselves are quite high quality and quite good at figuring all that stuff out. So I would just go ahead and grab that. Either that, or I'd go old school and just boom, package management gone. No more. No more package management. You want software? You go download it.
And then you go have dinner.
Yeah, that's how I.
And then you come back to whatever random error you ended up with because you forgot the fact that the package was named a little differently than what you thought.
Yeah, I tell you what I'm not doing.
That's the problem with Alien. It's looking for this lib version named this, and it's actually a lib version named that with a hyphen.
It's like a hyphen and an underscore instead of like the uppercase and the.
Do not miss those days. No, I'm not going to compile squat. I go to an abacus and a speak and spell. I'm good. A Merlin. I don't know. All these random old things that no one knows what I'm talking about. It's oh my gosh. I'm so old.
Everything that you said just gave me a case of PTSD flashbacks.
I know, right?
Oh my heavens, the Betsy.
The holidays past. Yes.
This episode of the Leduc Show of Linux Thursdays brought to you also in part by Lulzbot 3D printers. Hey, you know who also likes free software and open source? Lulzbot does. You know who makes 3D printers? It's Lulzbot. It's totally Lulzbot. Go to lulzbot.com. If you call Lulzbot, you hear my voice again. You could finish this show, call them to make an order over the phone, and I'll be like, hey, I'm Brian. Hey, it's nice to see you again when you call. That's how cool it is. Lulzbot.com. You can also buy some shirts, some really wicked nice shirts over at leduc.com. Hartley.
Yeah.
Should we send people anywhere for you?
Not really. Not right now. You know what you could do is you buy one of those printers, and then you can, like, I don't know, 3D print me a clue. That would be kind of cool.
Print Matt Hartley a clue.
Just saying. Yeah, no, I'm not doing anything right now that actually warrants money or compensation. So yeah, I think we're good for the time being. That could change, but yeah.
I missed you so much, man. If you go to leduc.com,
you could send me chocolate milk. That'd be cool.
There are links. I'll tell you what, everybody, if you guys buy enough t-shirts, I will Costco or Amazon Prime Now order Matt Hartley a box of chocolate milk.
The Amazon van pulls up. What the hell?
I got some chocolate milk for you, Hartley. Oh, he's not here? I'll just leave it on the front porch in the sun. It'll be fine. Matt Hartley will drink it anyway.
None of that fancy dry ice nonsense. Just let it out. It'll be fine.
If we go over to the place, the website has the hyperlinks and the universal resource whatevers. Watch the show on Library, by the way. You can watch it listen to it on iTunes, right? Because iTunes.
Yeah. Yeah, clearly iTunes. How can we go from Library to iTunes?
Yeah, there's iTunes, and you can also get this on the Google Podcast Play Now Music. I don't remember what it's even called anymore. You can get it over there. There's an MP3 feed, whatever. But if you get it from Library, it's cool because you can tip me in crypto coins. And this is the cool part. Matt, I don't know if you've tried Library out, but
I've looked. I think I glanced at it a few times.
Okay, it's kind of awesome.
It's not that place with all the books, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so here's the thing. So I'm number 4 right now on Library.
Right.
So I'm the 4th most subscribed to thing on the Library platform, right?
Wow.
Which is good. Right now my goal is to get above Minute Physics. There's a channel called Minute Physics that's like right above me. And I'm gunning for you, Minute Physics. So go to library.com, download it, and subscribe to me to get me above Minute Physics. I want to destroy Minute Physics. I want Minute Physics to go to bed and cry. But here's the thing. So
that'll help.
So the library is all blockchainy, right? And it has the crypto coin and madoodles, and those crypto coin and madoodles are worth roughly like 2 cents or something like that per crypto coins, right? It's fine. But here's the thing: if people tip me in those little 2-cent crypto coins or whatever, they don't even really have to pay for it because it's just mine and blah 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 whatever. I do better than YouTube ad revenue by like a ton. off of like 1 and 2 cent crypto coins. It is.
Wow.
It is. But actually, like if you think, like if you do the math, you're like, wow, you know what? If a more than little chunk of my YouTube audience continued to moving over to library, I actually do okay. Like it actually works out. Like I do all right.
Incentivize. So here's what you do.
Right,
I'm not saying like give stuff away, but incentivize with.
All right, everybody. Matt Hartley is about to incentivize you.
Yep.
Hey, do it.
If you do this, I will commit to coming on more often. And for those of you that hate me, if you do this, I won't ever come back. See how this works? You can't lose.
It's win-win.
And the way we do it is we'll do two completely separate channels. One for it's the Matt Free Hartley Zone, and then there's it'll be like that Garfield comic where there's no Garfield.
Oh
yeah, John talking to himself.
Garfield without
you just
Garfield.
pull the window out. No one sees me. It's fine.
By the way, Garfield without Garfield is amazing. That
is actually great.
is really good. The Jim Davis saw that and commented on it. He's like, that's pretty funny.
Right. It's like John's slow descent into insanity.
It's just total insanity.
Right.
It's fantastic.
It's like watching a sitcom without a laugh track.
Everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us again. This was fantastic. I know we went over the hour mark, but whatever. It was worth it.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
This is Matt Hartley, for those of you new around here. If you want to send in questions, we went through like 10 questions. We got, I'm not joking, we got way over 100 questions over the last 2 weeks since we announced that we were bringing the show back. No way we can hit them all. Send us more. So email me here. There it is. You can email me, Brian@lunduke.com. But if you do that, put in the subject line Linux Thursday, one word, because all I'm going to do is search for that specific phrase. And if it's not there, I won't ever see it. My inbox is such a cluttered hellhole that there's no way for me to find things unless you put that phrase in there.
What would happen if you put a secret key phrase in your library video description, and then that got included in the email to you?
That got them bumped up a little bit.
There's your incentive. There's your incentive. It's easy. No muss, no fuss. It's fun. You get your question answered. I get to ramble on about absolutely nothing for half an hour with you going, what the hell is this guy talking about? It's awesome. It's what you want, right?
I'm so psyched about that. You can also send in questions over on Twitter or anywhere on the Fediverse. Hashtag Linux Thursday, and I'll search for it and find it. Also a BBS. We have a BBS. You can post it there. I didn't grab any questions from there this week. I will next week. Post questions over on the BBS. Go to lunduke.com. There's things you can click on. Everybody. Matt.
Yes.
As you are thinking through our time together today. Wait, everybody.
Wait, hold on. There's thinking involved here. You didn't tell me this.
Everybody close your eyes. I'm on a black screen right now. Everyone close your eyes. Listen to the dulcet tones of the Hartley as he tells you some sort of words of wisdom that will get you through the remainder of this work week to this most glorious Linuxy powered weekend. Something amazing, something deep, something sensational. Matt Hartley, take it away.
Oh God, he's back.
That's pretty good. I'm going to be honest. Part of me was like, he's going to go to Mr. Hanky again. That
was my go-to for a long time.
That was your go-to for a long time. Yeah. You got a little hidey-ho sometimes, which is all right.
Wilson was awesome.
Right. Way to go. All right, everybody. That's it for this Thursday. We'll be back next Thursday with more Thursdayness. Say goodbye to the universe, Matt.
So much Thursday. Oh, man.